This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remus.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Big Thursday edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Kickoff in the CFL tonight. Montreal and Ottawa. Don't forget to get your picks in on the CFL Pick'em over at Cool Bet with Winnipeg Sports Talk. Need to remind myself to make sure I've done my picks. Usually do those on Wednesday night, but we were busy last night, burning the midnight oil in the lab, getting ready for our big NFL Futures show this morning with Jake and Pat. Connor and the three of us fired up this morning at 10 for about 90 minutes, going all through the NFL Futures options and making our favorite picks and plays for the upcoming season. Make sure to check that out if you haven't already on YouTube or on the podcast. And make sure, if you're on YouTube, go in once you hear some of our picks and throw in your favorite futures in the comments. You'll be able to come back and tell us, I told you so, later on this season when you're right and we are not. But it was a lot of fun, extensive show, so much we got to, kind of rapid fire for about 90 minutes. So that is there for you. But right now, we pivot to what's happening on the local scene. Bombers getting ready for the Edmonton Elks tomorrow in Commonwealth. Heading out today. Ed Tate will join us from Edmonton tomorrow. We'll talk about it with Jeff Hamilton. But just shortly, we'll get to the depth chart, which was just released when I bring Connor in for the program. And of course, Montreal and Ottawa tonight, the biggest mismatch of the year so far in the Canadian Football League. A couple Jets news and notes from the offseason, which we will talk about. And of course, we're paying attention to this Blue Jays game this afternoon. If you're with us live right now, Jays up 1-0, playing in the bottom of 4, looking to win their 6th straight series right now after splitting the first 2 with the Tampa Bay Rays. But it's also the start of the Manitoba Open today at Elmhurst. And Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Jets is out at the course today. He will join us after we visit with Ken Wiebe, hitting some offseason Jets topics. And, speaking of golf, we'll find out how Ken has been doing out at the Tamarack. And a little later on, it is that time of the year, August, when we get ready for NFL season. I've already done a couple fantasy drafts and auctions this week. We will talk some fantasy and NFL with Thomas Tipple from Fantasy Points later on towards the end of the show, live around 2:30 if you're with us on YouTube. Just before we bring in Connor, shout out to all you podcast listeners. Welcome everybody with us live on YouTube. Please hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Also want to thank all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, Boston Pizza, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Travel Manitoba, the newly reopened Santa Lucia on Main Street after the fire 2 years ago. Shout out Roberto and his staff. Pop by if you're in the West K area. Check them out. They've done just a wonderful job in bringing the restaurant back. Obviously, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, Rowley's Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Dr. Terry and the gang. What's going on? And we will get to a why not question of the day for Not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Let's welcome in the Wonder Boy himself, Connor Hrabchak. Connor, what is up, man? Was that a lot of fun this morning with the two of us and Pat and Jake?
Yeah, it was, Huss. I feel like the day is well underway. You and I spent 90 minutes chopping it up with them, and I love talking NFL. Fired up to do a full season worth of picks on with our partners over at Colbet. So that was an absolute blast. We've got this Bomber game inching closer. Friday night, we got a game tonight. I don't know if I'll really be tuning in as opposed to just maybe watching the score keep climbing for Montreal over Ottawa. We'll see. Crazy things that happen in the CFL. And courtesy of Dave Minuk from Illegal Curve, we got some positive Jets news this morning as well that we'll get to in just a moment here. But fired up on this Thursday and looking forward to the Bomber game tomorrow.
Well, you know what? I mean, you teased it. We may as well get right into it. We can touch on Bombers in the CFL, when we've got some time before Ken jumps on. But yeah, good old IC Dave doing a little recon onto the recovery and rehab of Elias Salomonsson, who's such a big part of the Jets' plans moving forward. But unfortunately, the expectation was that he would not be ready to go towards the beginning of the season. And I guess some relatively positive news considering the timeline on that injury he suffered in the Calder Cup playoffs with the Moose.
Yes, Dave reporting. I'll bring up the article in a moment here. Elias Salomonsson tracking towards return around Winnipeg Jets training camp or the start of the season. So 5 to 6 months originally was announced on April 30th. We thought for sure, 5 to 6 months, he's a younger player, they'd slow play it, that he was going to miss time during the regular season, later into October, maybe even November in that sense. And then, of course, when he comes back, is there an AHL assignment in there to get him back up to speed? It felt far away because even in April, 5 to 6 months, that bleeds into the season a little bit, but looks like he's a little bit ahead of schedule, which is great news for the Winnipeg Jets. The right side of their defense core, we know they could use a boost there, and a guy like Elias Salomonsson who came in last year and really showed well in his games. Maybe he didn't rack up a ton of points, but that's not his game. He just played steady, moved the puck well, defended the rush really well, and if he can be ready to go before the start of the regular season and be in training camp and skating with a Mario Ferraro or whoever he's going to be playing with this upcoming season, that's good news for the Winnipeg Jets that they need to get off to a really good start, and their schedule doesn't do them any favors in the first 20 games. Elias Salomonsson being there would be a benefit, so this is good news in the middle of August here as Elias Salomonsson looks to be tracking towards a return maybe before the start of the regular season and might get some time in camp healthy, which would be great.
This is awesome news. Now, it was a shoulder surgery. I don't know exactly what the injury was. I'm not sure if they mentioned it. Usually, often you could have a labrum or some sort of structural thing. He had surgery. He's been recovering. When you get a 5 to 6 month plan, I mean, you're always thinking, okay, what's the worst? And essentially, it was at the end of April. So you got May, June, July, August. September is the 5th month.
Yeah.
October is the 6th month. I had sort of thought that, okay, let's assume that he's out for the first month of the season. If they can get him back earlier, it is huge for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, I know I've been banging the drum that I'd love to see Ty Bauer get a shot earlier on in the season, and maybe just for the home opener, get out there, get the crowd going, meet Tanner Jeannot, and get his first scrap in the league. But honestly, Connor, you kind of laid it out. I mean, this Jets schedule early on is not full with any tomato cans. They're going to need to be at their best to win. And there is absolutely no argument that Elias Salomonsson, when he has been on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets, has not made a very significant positive impact. So if he could be on the ice with his teammates at some point in September, if he could get into a preseason game, heck, if he could be ready to go, even if it wasn't for the home opener, but in the first 2 weeks of the season, I think it would be massive for Winnipeg because they will be filling a spot of one of their top 6 guys with whoever it is will be a massive question mark. I think that puts way more heat on that top 2 pairings. And to be honest, I think all things being equal, when he's healthy, I think there's a very significant argument to be made that he can be playing higher in the depth chart ahead of either Pionk or DeMello, or potentially both at some point, and riding shotgun with Josh Morrissey. So The sooner, the better for Elias Salmonson after what we saw from him last year with the Winnipeg Jets.
Yes, totally agree, Huss. And rewind a couple of months and remember what our WST chat room looked like. I think Dylan DeMello was being mentioned a lot by people in our chat for the wrong reasons. And that's what I mentioned earlier. You know, the Jets could use a boost on the right side of their defense core. If Elias Salomonsson gets into a preseason game, shows well in camp, maybe he starts the season playing with Mario Ferraro in the third pair, but clearly, you know, picks up right where he left off last season. This could be a guy that could shoot up the depth chart very quickly. He's at a prime age, 21 years old, making the NHL leap last year. He's got that experience already. If he plays the same way he did last year and can jump into the lineup very early this season, that's something that the Winnipeg Jets, we know, we describe, or we debate, I should say, a lot. Do they split up the top line? Should they do that? Should they experiment with some of their defense pairings? I mean, Josh Morrissey's been playing with Dylan DeMello for the past number of years, and that pairing has certainly worked. And DeMello has a hand in Morrissey's, offensive breakout as well, being his partner. But maybe there's an upgrade to be had there for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm not trying to put Salomonsson on the top pair in the middle of August right now, but once the games start going, if he starts rolling and he looks comfortable, there could be more minutes in store for Elias Salomonsson for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Neil Pionk, play with Sandberg almost exclusively. I know the guys have a connection, and when they have been both healthy and playing together, they've been good. And listen, one of the Jets' topics we've hit is players that need big comeback seasons. Adam Lowry's at the top of that list with how important he is. Mm-hmm. To me, Neil Pionk is right there as well, and a healthy Dylan Sandberg hopefully will make that happen. But at the same time, to me, the potential of Elias to play big minutes, responsible in his own zone, good at moving the puck, doing the things that you need to do to be spending more time in the other team zone than your team zone. I could see it with Sandberg, mm-hmm. But to me, and you sort of named it, I mean, to me, the end game for this season, if Elias can play at that level, is playing with Josh Morrissey. And, it's funny. Like, I'm not crapping on Dylan DeMello because, the numbers are what they are. It's very interesting when you dive into the analytics, just how much of a positive effect he's had on and with Josh Morrissey. Now, I know a lot of people will argue he's got the benefit of playing with the Jets' best player or the best skater and the guy that makes the biggest difference. What would the pairing look like with a guy like Elias? I still think it would be really good. I do wonder, if DeMello finds himself on a third pairing, like if you did that swap, if Elias is playing really well, how does DeMello fare, with a player like Mario Ferraro? I think that would be an excellent third pairing. I do think that the Ferraro addition really kind of changes the way we look at the third pair. But the bottom line is, look at it. We know where Dylan Sandberg's at is his career. He needs a big season moving forward. But for the Jets as a group to move forward on the blue line, it's Elias Salomonsson that's going to be making the difference. And how high he can climb in the lineup is going to be a big question. But the fact that he's going to hopefully get the opportunity to do it sooner as opposed to later, just great for the Jets overall as a team.
Yeah, whether you think he should be playing with Josh Morrissey next season or not, you want him playing games. And the debate for young players is always, well, do you want to play them in a depth role in the NHL, or do you want to give them a huge role in the AHL where Salomonsson can play top penalty kill, top power play, etc.? I think he showed last year that he's ready for the NHL. Like he's an NHLer going forward. I would argue that if he's going to the AHL, it's for a game or two just to get his legs under him and then really hit his stride when he gets to the NHL. But regardless, this is good news. Whether he's playing with Mario Ferraro or they open it up, he's there in camp and he's there with Josh Morrissey, which would be exceeding expectations as we sit here on August 20th for Elias Salomonsson. So I have high hopes for him. I really enjoyed what I saw from him last season. And if he can come back a little bit earlier, participate in camp a little bit, maybe gain a little bit of chemistry with Josh Morrissey in camp skating alongside him, that's a benefit for the Winnipeg Jets for the present and for the future, as this is a young player that's hopefully going to be on their blue line for a long time.
Yeah, no doubt. So that'll be a big topic just when we get back to training camp and things are at. Where's Elias at? The good thing, Connor, is it was an upper body injury. So you would assume that he's been able to skate.
Yeah.
The big question is as to when he'll be able to get into contact. And I would suggest with such a short camp and only 4 preseason games, it will be pretty intense. It will be quick, and everyone's going to need to be ready to go for the regular season. The players that are greenlit for it, and we'll count down to when Elias gets into the mix. We could talk about who's going to be taking that spot when he's not there. Is it Jack St. Ivany? Is it Hayden Fleury playing the opposite side? Is it Tyrell Bauer? We'll save that when we get to, and we'll hit this with Ken as well. We'll talk a little bit more about Elias, as well as Dylan DeMello, who does have one more year on his contract. But if there's a chance that he could be usurped and moved down the lineup, I think that would be a very good thing for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor, let's move over to the Bombers. We've got this game tonight, Montreal and Ottawa, to kick off the CFL schedule for the week. But the Bombers are at it tomorrow night, traveling today, and that means it is time for the depth chart. What do we got for the Bombers tomorrow night in Edmonton?
Yeah, only one change for the Bombers. Ethan Ball, defensive back who went down with kind of a non-contact lower body Achilles injury. Doesn't look good for him. He's coming out of the lineup. But when you look at the offense, you got Brady Oliveira in there. No game time decision tag next to his name, despite the fact that he didn't practice all week. He did not participate in a single practice for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but he's in. Not a game time call. He is playing. And same with Nick Dembski, who practiced in full the first day of practice, didn't practice the next day, but he's good to go. Stanley Bryant was another player who opened up the week not practicing, but he's in there. And so is Tui Elliott, the backup center, and a player that the Bombers use on some heavy run packages as well. So when you looked at the injury report earlier in the week, you thought, oh boy, Bryant, Dembski, Oliveira, maybe even Tuieli as a backup lineman. This could be tough for, health-wise for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but looks like everyone is good to go for this big tilt against the number 1 team in the West.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't give much thought at all week to Brady not playing. They called him a game time decision last week, and we saw what he did.
It's just seeing the injury report and seeing Brady Oliveira did not practice every day makes me think a little bit. But I agree with you. Like he's in.
I mean, and the key thing is all the guys are in front of him. Stanley Bryant, Gabe Wallace, Ellsbury and Eli in the middle, Patty Neufeld, and Jonathan Broxton. And I was diving into a little bit more of the details in that Edmonton Toronto game from last week because, of course, we were all at the Seabears game, so weren't really watching it live. Mm-hmm. Edmonton had a phenomenal game. They beat them by 30. I think you said 6 turnovers. I guess 3 of them were 3 and outs. I mean, they had a pick and a couple fumbles, but they absolutely beat the hell out of the team. Connor, what do you think the time of possession in that game was?
Oh, boy. 35 minutes for Edmonton, 36. Is it higher? Is it into the 40s?
Not quite. It was just about there. It was almost 39 minutes to 21 minutes. It was 38-40 or something like that. And I went in and dug in and a part of it is having the lead that they had. But they were able to just run the football. And it's funny because Rankin himself did not have an absolutely insane weekend. He had lots of carries. It didn't actually really turn into as many yards, but they were able to get Leak involved in it. I'm just going to pull it up again. So 16 carries for Rankin and only 47 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he didn't even have 3 yards a carry. Cody Fajardo had 3 big runs, though, for 50 yards. Leak had 6 for 58. Then they brought Cole Snyder in. He had a couple. So, I mean, they ran the ball 27 times in total. They threw the ball 31 times. So a really, really balanced passing attack. But that was part of what led the crazy time of possession gap, which was 37-40, so 38 minutes to 22. And I'm thinking about the Bombers' challenge on the defensive side of the football to stop the run. And I'll be honest, it makes me somewhat nervous. We saw what happened against BC a couple weeks ago here in Winnipeg. Jays just hit a homer, 3-1 Toronto. There's your update.
Nice.
How will the Bombers be able to up that run defense? Because Rankin has had some big games and teams are really focused on him and sort of kept him in check. But when you do that, so much focus goes into stopping the run. Cody Fajardo's been eating. And, man, there is this to me is a huge challenge, both sides of the football for Winnipeg, because I do think if they play at their best on both sides, they could potentially win this game, and it certainly should be close. If they don't come prepared, if they turn the football over, and if they don't have an answer to keep the Elks from running the football and moving the chains, it could be a long Friday night.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And the Elks this year, when Justin Rankin's going, they just keep pounding the rock and he racks up, video game numbers. But when he's not, the other side of their offense does pick up the slack. Cody Fajardo's had a number of games this year with over 300 yards. He had the 500-yard performance in Regina in that classic, what I still think is the game of the year between the Elks and the Riders a little bit earlier on. And Austin Mack can get going a little bit in that wide receiver core as well. But the star of the show, the reason the Elks are the number one team in the West so far has been their defense. I mean, they add Malik Carney to that D-line. Ross, the corner, had 2 picks in the last game and a forced fumble against the Argos. So he's coming off a legacy game. Tyrell Ford, we know, former Bomber. He's a ball hawk. He can certainly make plays on the boundary. So this is a defense that the Bombers, their offense has been kind of up and down this year. They've had quarterback changes. When Zach Caleros is in, he's looked good. But obviously health has been a concern there. But does Brady Oliveira continue off of last week with the passing game influence that he had? 8 catches last week will be a big thing to take pressure off of this O-line as well. So Edmonton is a well-oiled machine so far, where their defense is great. They're getting a lot of pressure on their D-line. Rankin has some games where he goes off. In the games where he doesn't, Cody Fajardo just plays a strong game, and their defense kind of does the rest. So this will be a tall task for the Bombers on Friday, Huss, but one that isn't insurmountable. I don't think this is like this is an Ottawa going into Montreal type of, there's no chance. There's a chance here, but they'll have to play their best game of the season to date, I think.
Well, and get this, as ugly at times as the first half has looked, we've said the Bombers' record is what it is. It's 5-4 right now. Now they play some really tough teams. If they could go into Edmonton and win on Friday night, and if BC can beat Saskatchewan, Edmonton would be 7-4. The Bombers would be 6-4. Calgary or Saskatchewan would be 6-4. BC 5-5. Calgary 4-6. It could be right in it. You can say what you want about the teams that they beat and the way they played at home and the teams they've lost to, but they are still very much in. And I think I'd still probably rank them 5th out of the 5 teams in the West right now when we're doing our CFL power poll right now. They need to change that narrative with a full performance, come out prepared, ready to go, take care of the football. We'll talk more about it a little later on. Kenny's coming up next up. And then we will also have Mike McIntyre live from the Manitoba Open. But Kenny is up next. Let's thank a couple sponsors and we'll come back with Wiebe's World on his never-ending golf tour of the summer of 2026. Hockey season's just around the corner, and that means we'll be getting back to the Winnipeg Jet lines for Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Clean Line is your residential and commercial plumbing experts in Winnipeg, along with heating and electrical services, and have been Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers for over 40 years, with fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. Just like Adam Lowry has the backs of his teammates, Clean Line has yours. Mark the number down, 204-500-2001 for 24/7 emergency service when you need it most. You can also check out more on all Cleanline services and make an appointment online at cleanline.ca. Big congratulations to Roberto and our friends out at the Santa Lucia on Main Street who battled back from the last 2 years working to overcome a fire and just had a wonderful grand opening on the weekend. Popped out and saw a lot of happy people in the West K area to have their Santa Lucia back. If you have not been there, certainly suggest to try it out. They've got amazing happy hour specials, promos throughout the week, and obviously all your favorites from Santa Lucia. So all of you out in West K or that go up and down Main Street, 1473 Main, Santa Lucia is back open. It was a great grand opening on the weekend, but now it is business as usual. Pop by and see him today at Santa Lucia on Main Street. And congratulations to Roberto and the staff on getting back open for the people of Winnipeg. Hey, got to thank our friends at Manitoba Battery. Big Bomber game coming up on Friday night. And, of course, Manitoba Battery. Hopefully we can get a couple new batteries in that Bomber offense and defense after last week's game. Of course, Manitoba Battery, proud sponsor of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, powering the Bombers this season. And, of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Manitoba Battery is your local option where you'll find the best in batteries for literally everything at the lowest prices in town, period, along with the best in customer service. So pop by and see them on Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive out in the south end of the city. And if you can't make it down, you can give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com, and they can deliver those batteries to you anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg. For all your battery needs, save time, save money, shop local at Manitoba Battery with 2 locations to serve you. And folks, if you have a move coming up the rest of the summer, fall, or even into winter, you're going to need to check in with our friends over at Rolly's Transfer. Family owned and operated for over 60 years and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. If you check out their website at rollys.com, up at the top corner, you can click on Request an Estimate. If you've got a move coming up, hit that. And then make sure to put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. Then simply let them know when and where you're planning on moving, what needs to be moved, and the friendly staff at Rolly's will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today online at rollys.com. All right, we are back, keeping you up to date on this Jays game. Beebs is on the hill. They're in the bottom of 5. It's 3-1, and I do believe we just saw the first major league home run. Are you familiar with Daz Cameron, Connor? Every time I look at the Jays, there's a new guy. I'm like, who the heck is this guy?
Just got called up. I think Kenny's familiar. He's got his hand up here. He's ready to go.
Let's bring in Wiebe. Wiebe, how are you? We're just keeping an eye on the little afternoon baseball action while we do the show today. Daz Cameron went yard.
Yeah, buddy. Son of Mike Cameron, longtime major leaguer. I think most people familiar with him from his Seattle Mariners center fielding days.
Dude, this
yes.
is the stuff.
How can there be sons? Yes.
So
How can there be
old.
sons of
Oh
these
my
guys?
God. The whole NHL is second generations from the guys we grew up with. And now Daz Cameron is Mike Cameron's son. Oh.
Yeah. And Huss, it was a 441-foot moonshot to left field.
Crazy.
It was absolutely launch pad material. So nice to see Jays back in the wild card chase, which is something, Huss, you and I would not have been saying a month ago. We were thinking that was pretty much pipe dream central, but congested field, but looking good for them. Or so,
Hey,
I mean, again, it could be looking good after this week. I mean, their schedule gets a lot later after this week.
Well, I mean, I honestly, we came into this week after going 5-2 last week, and on Monday's show, Connor and I were talking about, okay, like what are you hoping to get? I'm like, listen, if you can get out of this week at 500, if you can go 3-3, you're putting yourself in a great spot. If they could somehow go 4-2, and I mean, this is the place where they never win.
Yeah, House of Horrors.
The Rays are 35 games above 500. Still don't understand. You know, we talk a lot about teams in sports that don't have big budgets, that somehow find a way. Like, I don't even know who the general manager of the Tampa Bay Rays is. Like, it's not like I mean, the job that team does with the least resources, nobody at their games. They're in a division with some of the highest spending teams in the majors, and they are running circles around the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Orioles. It's an underreported story, I think, just because they basically have no fans.
Well, Hassan, the other part of that is they had no home last year other than Steinbrenner Field, which is crazy. Just think of it this way. An NHL team playing in the spring training facility of a rival within the division. I mean, like you can't even really put that into terms. I mean, it would be like the Quebec Nordiques back in the day, Huss, playing in Laval, like in the farm team system for the NHL club of your fiercest rival, right? So yeah, they got great pitching and defense and fundamental play. And, Camanero's got 35, 36 jacks, and they got a bunch of guys that are tough outs and put the ball in play and run the bases well. And their pitching staff is very good. And they're like the new Moneyball, Huss. But I think it's also underreported because, they always play the platoon. They got a bunch of no-name guys, but they always have high draft picks, and they've sort of taken over the role of the Montreal Expos, Huss, in some ways. And again, Canadian fans might not want to hear that, but it's true. Like when their really good players get really good, homegrown guys usually get sold off because they don't want to pay them. But maybe they're turning up. I think they're getting some progress being made on maybe getting a new stadium built. But yeah, they've been one of the fun stories to watch for sure. But yeah, I mean, Jays historically don't play well there, but if they could somehow find a way to get 2 out of 3 here, 2 out of 3 against the Yankees, that would set them up pretty well for a fun sprint to the finish line here in that wild card derby.
Yeah, we were hitting this yesterday, but when I look at the standings right now, you've got the divisions. It's like there's a new division. It's the wild card division, and there's 7 teams, and they're all battling for that one spot right now. But the Jays, this is the week. I mean, you mentioned what their schedule looks like after this week. I mean, you got to get through this final game against the Rays, 3 more against the Yankees. Wouldn't it be amazing if we got Cease versus Schlittler on Friday? They haven't set the rotation as of yet. And then a month or 5 weeks against teams that are all in that wild card division and all under 500. So they're here right now. And it's just, but it is amazing watching these games right now at how different the team looks with so many new faces, both from the deadline, from getting called up. And I'm not sure, Ken, I'll get your thoughts on this. They're playing some of their best baseball in a long time, coinciding with Vlad being on the 7-day IL, and a lot of innings aren't going to die on the bat of 27, which unfortunately has happened far too often this year.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, Huss. If you had told me that the Jays would be in contention with Vladdy having kind of one of his worst seasons in his career, I would have said that that's lunacy. But Okamoto has really started to heat up today. Another home run for him today, Huss. I mean, where would the Jays be if they hadn't won the bidding for Kaz Okamoto, right? I mean, he's providing close to 30 bombs right now, Huss, at a time when Vladdy has 6 and none at home. So they've been scrappy here, Huss. It's funny. You talk about the roster turnover. Guys like Charles McAdoo, guys like Brent Bateman, they've come in and kind of injected this little youthful exuberance and energy into the lineup. Josh Smith started to get back into a groove. He's a versatile player, can play outfield, can play infield. They sort of just gotten back to their identity, which sounds crazy. And like you said, without Vladdy, but the one thing I'm going to give Vladdy credit for, and I saw it being in the building last week for those games against the Red Sox, Vladdy is still the biggest cheerleader and doing a great job as a leader. He's not letting his personal struggles impact how he is defensively or what he's like. He's always the first guy there with the jacket, putting it on. He's happy for his teammates. And it looked like he was starting to get into the little bit of a groove too, Huss, before he took the knee to the head at third base on the play that caused the concussion. Fortunately for him, he was able to point himself in the direction of home plate and score before he was removed from that game. But yeah, I mean, if the Jays could somehow get Vladdy going, it would be massive. And that's the other part of the equation too. Anyone who's been watching the Jays, Alejandro Kirk looks like the guy who was really good in October last year, Huss. He's not the guy who had the broken thumb and struggled on his way back. He looks like a real threat in the middle of the order, and that's been a massive difference for the Jays down the stretch here as well.
Yeah, Kirk's raised his batting average 40 points in 2 weeks.
Is
now,
that
part
good?
of that is how much time he missed early on in the season that he could do that. But dude is a professional hitter. He's been great. And it's funny. I was just looking on the TSN site, and they want to get Vlad back. It sounds like Guerrero is going to get a start with the DJs in Dunedin. Right. A single A start, and it reminded me, I think it was Pardon My Take I was listening to, and they said, when guys are in a slump, you should just let them go out with some, a little league team or something and just get that good feeling back again. I'm not sure whether single A will be that, but if they could somehow get Guerrero Jr. back in the lineup and convince him it was October of 2025, I think this team can be off to the races. And with the arms that they have, no guarantee they can't do some damage come playoff time, regardless of who's in their way.
Yeah, no doubt, Hassan. And the quick thing with Vladdy, one of his best seasons was the COVID season that was split between Dunedin and Buffalo, right? I mean, that's when he had the power numbers absolutely skyrocketing. So maybe getting back into that stadium can bring back some of those powerful numbers, if you will. And to your point, I mean, since moving Hoffman, Seawald, how about Seawald coming in yesterday and throwing a nasty slider to Caminero? I mean, that really can help stabilize the back end of the bullpen that has sort of been, the bridge has been a little rocky at times this year outside of Rogers and Varland. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun time. I mean, we're hardcore and watching every night, but it's going to be interesting to see how interesting they can make it, Huss. And when you stack them up against the other teams, I mean, a lot of those teams were rebuilding. Like the Twins basically said, we're rebuilding this year. Then they got themselves back in it. And Texas, yes, they were spending money, but they're right in the mix with a bunch of teams that Baltimore had spent, but they sort of had a precipitous fall last year also. So yeah, I mean, it sounded like, I think Jimenez left the game today though, Huss. I mean, he's been kind of rolling defensively and got his bat going, but yeah, I mean, it's nice to see them in the mix, and if they can somehow find a way to get into it, it's going to be a fun story to watch. And Huss, speaking of great stories that are kind of not underreported, but I think sometimes people forget how big a story Tristan Peters is, Huss. I mean, literally second major leaguer that was produced by this province after Corey Koski. And the White Sox are also a team that wasn't expected to be doing anything, and there's Peters having a great season. First real full season in the major leagues, and carved out a starting job in center field. Started as more of a platoon guy, known for his defense, got the late invite into the All-Star game. And yes, I know coming out of the break he had struggled a bit, but the fact that he's right in the middle of a pennant race is pretty cool to be watching. And again, Huss, like for people who don't know, Tristan Peters played in the Manitoba Junior Baseball League, right? Like this is a guy who played in homegrown guy in Manitoba. Yes, went to college and all that other stuff, but pretty cool to see. And while I speak, I should also say Carolyn Sultan's with another big year in the MJBL. Huss, I think that was a third consecutive championship for them. So anyways, just sort of meandering through the works here, but the year that Tristan Peters is having is just fantastic. Because I mean, Huss, we're like 12 months from Tristan getting called up to the Rays, and I think he was 0 for 11 with 7 strikeouts. Had a tough start to his big league career, but really found his groove this year. And it's a great made in Manitoba story.
Hey, Connor, is there if you can, I just sent you a picture on your email. If you can grab that, hopefully it's there. I sent it off my phone.
Yeah, just give me a sec.
You just brought up Tristan Peters. I got an amazing story for you about this. So last weekend, the Twins are playing in Detroit.
Right.
And good friend of mine and the show, Christian Hammer, who was there with his wife and kids, and his wife Ann's brother, I guess, lives either in Detroit or Windsor. They've got tickets. They often go to games. So the whole crew was going out to watch the game. So they had seats together, and then I guess her brothers got some seats in the outfield in the first row of the ballpark. So Christian and the boys were a section over, and then Anne was sitting with, I believe, her brother over there. So Christian sends me this picture that we'll show right now from TV. There is Anne from Winnipeg catching a home run ball. Guess who hit the homer?
Come on.
Tristan Peters, Winkler, Manitoba. I've been waiting
Unreal.
for a moment. I was going to talk about it on Friday, but there is Anne, great part of the Princess Auto team and great friends of mine. I have been out of my mind all week from that. The fact that she and the catch, the ball comes in and she's right up there, and what she's doing is showing off the ball to Christian and her son her over. But the fact that it was a Manitoban catching a Manitoban's home run ball in a major league park is got to be a one of one. I mean, I doubt that that's ever happened in the history of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, pretty crazy, huh? So would have taken a Corey Koski home run hit to someone from Made in Manitoba, but very cool story. Love to see it, and well done, Anne. Nice hands out there.
Yeah, Anne she's awesome. So yes, Anne, Christian, Sawyer, Teddy, they had a great time, and Mom was the star of the show, snapping the Tristan Peters home run in the D. Wiebe, I want to get to some Jets for a minute, but of course this is your annual visit from out west. Tamarack shirt right there. How's the tourney going? This just for people that maybe haven't heard this conversation before, aren't involved in golf. An unbelievable event that I remember you went out there the first time and said, I'm doing my best to come back here every single year. And to your credit, you have done it. I know the weather hasn't been great out in that part of the province, and the water is really, we talked about the Gilbert Plains course. Yeah. How's everything gone? And how has your competition been going?
Yeah, Husk, great to be able to shine a light on one of the great Manitoba events. Interesting structure, dates back, I think this is the 93rd Tamarack, I believe. They missed a couple around the or missed one for sure around COVID. 1934 was the first. It's a cool event in terms of the style and the format, if you will. On the men's side, I think there's close to 600 or 550 players maybe this year, ranging from Cubs, which is 13 and under. Then there's a junior bracket. There's the men's bracket. There is a men's scramble and then a ladies scramble bracket, and senior, mid masters, like it just a wide range of skill sets and levels of player. And the course has really held up really well up at Clear Lake here. Event has been fabulous. Volunteers and the staff did a great job. The course was, looking really good. Unfortunately, I've been reduced to spectator status. Huss had a bit of an adventure as usual. My first qualifying round, and sorry, for format, it's 2 rounds of qualifying. Then you go into the match play portion. You get flighted from the championship flight to the 8th flight, I believe. And then you're going into head-to-head match play. There is a consolation side, but you have to win your second match or you're eliminated. And unfortunately, I went down a little bit early. I lost the first 3 holes to Ethan Trotter yesterday, and it was 4 down at one point, Huss, and looked like it was going to be an early exit. Chipped away at it, got it to down 1, but unfortunately lipped out on my 17th hole, which was the 8th for a par putt that I needed to lose 2 and 1. So, fortunately, my playing partners are still rolling along here. Darren Ritchie's playing this afternoon, just got going in the first flight, and my other buddy, Jason Falk, is still rolling as well in his flight. So, yeah, it's been a super event. Ron Cornell rounded out our group. He was on the championship flight as well, but or in the first flight as well. I'm not quite sure. I think he's out there today as well. So our group, I'm the only one who has been eliminated, Huss. I did have some adventures with the flat stick, which does not surprise you, I know. This is the beauty of golf. 93 with 45 putts in my first qualifying round. Yeah. And Huss, hang on before you crush me. I responded the next day with an 80. So
I always keep you coming back. Always keep you
coming
buddy. Back.
And one of my practice rounds was an 80 also, Huss. So like that's my 3rd lowest score of the year. So I did it twice in 3 days, but then when the matches got going, I didn't quite dial in the way that we wanted, but had a super fun match with Ryan Thorpe, a former investigative journalist at the Freep there. He's living in San Francisco now. We had a really fun walk around the course, and it was really cool. We had a pretty big gallery, a bunch of family around, so it was super fun. It's a great event, and it's still going for the next couple days here. Saturday is Championship Saturday, and there'll be lots of great golf to be played. And yeah, this was my 5th in a row, Huss, and I definitely plan on returning for a 6th, despite my poor results this year.
By the way, boring Sean Monahan's just dragging me in the chat. I still can't do the math on a 76-50 team. To my defense, why I referred to him as 35 games above 500. What I believe happened was, going into this series, I looked at their record. It was 75, I guess, and 49, and I read it as 40 and didn't add it all up. So that's on me, hand up, but they're still the class of the AL East. But things are going well for the Blue Jays. Right now. Kenny, let's talk Jets for a few minutes. Right off the top of the show, Connor brought up Dave Manuke's highlighting a report on Elias Salmonson's recovery and rehab from his off-season surgery, and his return could be in September or by the start of the season. Now, I'm not sure whether that means being on the ice and ready to play. I'm not sure whether they give him a couple games in the A, or, well, considering he was injured in the A, I think maybe they just keep him around, and when he's good to go, he's good to go.
Yeah.
But thoughts on what an early return of Elias, how big of a boost that could be for the Winnipeg Jets, and just your thoughts on the importance of the young man on the Jet blue line going into this season.
Yeah, Huss, I mean, we've talked about Elias for a long time, and he's a guy who's going to become a really important part of this team sooner than some people may expect, I guess, if you will. I think he's a guy who could be partnered with Josh Morrissey before the year is out. So, again, I don't know that they're necessarily going to start it that way, especially given the recovery, even if it's ahead of schedule. But again, this is a guy who showed that he could handle top 4 minutes, whether that's with, briefly with Morrissey, but, a good chunk of minutes with Dylan Samberg. And he's a guy that, we talk about the Jays injecting some youth in the next wave. Well, Solomonson was injected last year, and the Jets defense core got better when he was playing with a little bit more regularity. Now, again, we talked about it at the time. His first 5 or 6 games didn't always go smoothly, but that's natural. I mean, when he came up the second time and started playing us and his minutes increased, he played a lot of valuable and capable minutes. We talked about it, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago, the importance of Neil Pionk needing to have a rebound season or a bounce back season, and Dylan DeMello needing to raise his level again a little bit. But Solomonson is a guy that can eventually be a stabilizing force on the back end, Huss. And I mean, this is a guy that's probably could spend a decade kind of helping to augment that blue line. And again, maybe not eye-popping offensive numbers, but he's a guy that had some second power play time at the American Hockey League level. He gives you stable minutes. He helps increase the mobility on the back end. And we know one of the biggest problems, Huss, for the Jets last season is they spent too much time in the defensive zone. When you have a mobile puck-moving defenseman that can get the puck going north, you spend less time defending and more time on the attack. And that's one of the ways that the Jets can kind of get that record cleaned up and do a better job in terms of pushing for a playoff spot this year. And again, no one's asking Solomonson to carry the blue line, Huss, but this is a guy that can handle 20 plus minutes a game. He helps their penalty kill. He helps them at 5-on-5. And if necessary, he could be on the second power play unit. I don't expect him to be this year because of Pionk, but I do think that's something that he can add, that he has that tool in his toolbox, but because he's an even better penalty killer, you're not going to be asking for a ton of offense from him, but he's going to be a guy that the Jets lean on pretty heavily. I think this is a guy that's going to average, 18 to 21 minutes a night, depending on how the pairings shake down and when that promotion or full-time status in the top 4 actually happens.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and I'm with you. We kind of talked about the potential of at some point Elias graduating to that top pairing with Josh Morrissey, which would certainly, I think, be stabilizing for the third pairing with Dylan DeMello.
Especially
but
with Ferraro there now, Huss, right? I mean, no matter
That's-
who's on the third pairing with Ferraro, there's going to be a stabilizing force there. And now it's just a matter of who's clicking best with whom.
Who do you think's next man up? I know we kind of were talking specifically about Bauer and his potential to come in, but there's going to be Hayden Fleury. There's going to be this Jack Ivany that hasn't been here before, was acquired AHL from AHL trade with David Gustafson. Garrett Brown. I mean, some of the other newcomers. I mean, how do you see? Is there more than just those first two and Bauer that might be in the mix as far as the depth spot, right, in your mind before we get to camp?
Yeah, Huss, in terms of the number 7, I think Fleury's got the leg up, if you will. I mean, this is a guy who played 33 minutes in Game 7 against St. Louis 2 years ago. So I would say that he's probably has the leg up in that spot. But again, when in terms of the right side, if Salomonsson's not there, I think the Jets are high on St. Ivany. He's got some length to him. I know he is a big guy. We talk often about the need to have a little bit more size. And yes, of course, Bauer known a little bit more for the fisticuffs portion along with his physical play, but kind of long limbs. He can get involved on the penalty kill too. I would say that he has got the edge on the right side right now, Huss. But again, Tyrell Bauer is right in the middle. He's in the thick of things here for sure, Huss. I think let's just put it this way. I'll be surprised if he doesn't make his NHL debut this year for the Jets. But I think St. Ivany is ahead of him at this stage. But Bauer is definitely going to do what he can to make that a difficult decision for the Jets brass. And if Salomonsson's not ready to start the year, there could be a scenario where the Jets start with 8 defensemen and both of those right-handed shots are in it. And you could see sort of an internal competition. I'm not saying it's going to be a rotation, Huss, but it may be, depending on the opponent or whatever else. I mean, that could be something those guys are factoring in. But it's also possible that, Fleury could be used on the right side or whatever else. But I do see the Jets having, much like we talked about the options up front, Huss, there's going to be more NHL caliber options on the back end as well. And you talk about Garrett Brown. I mean, this guy's going to be an NHLer also, Huss. Just a matter of how quickly he can adapt. He was fortunate to get into some games at the NHL or at the AHL level in the playoffs last year after Salomonson was hurt. And I thought he acquitted himself quite well. Again, this is a guy who's not necessarily a bone crushing hitter, but he's got a big frame. He's very mobile. He is a good defensive defenseman that has some offensive upside in terms of puck mobility and, zone exits and those sorts of things. But for me, Garrett Brown just needs a season of American Hockey League seasoning, if you will. And I think he's a guy that's going to be competing for NHL work kind of sooner than later. But again, I wouldn't want to put a ceiling on him and say it won't be this year, but a lot would have to go well for him in order for him to be kind of pushing his way into the mix right away. But I see him as an NHL player for sure. And again, that he's a guy that has size, can play, he's going to have to add a little bit more of an edge, maybe, if you will, but he's a guy that I see being in the mix for the Jets kind of in the next year or two in terms of pushing for full-time duty as well, Huss. But again, that all sort of depends on where things shake down and with the roster and some of the decisions that'll have to be made the year after, if you will.
Okay, Kenny, listen, we got your colleague Mike joining us from the Manitoba Open in just a minute. Very quickly, if possible, does Logan Stanley get a contract, or is he going to have to go like on a PTO or something? It's nuts that he is still sitting out there unemployed.
Yeah, I mean, I just would use the best comparison I would use, Huss, is Jack Roslovic last year. Jack Roslovic only signed in kind of the third week of October and ended up scoring 20 goals for the Edmonton Oilers. So I do think he gets a full contract before he has to take a PTO, but he may end up having to take a 1-year deal. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing for him. He's coming off his best offensive season. And yes, we know it didn't go well for him in Buffalo, but again, every team's needing defensemen, especially ones that are, 6'7" defensemen that are willing to drop the mitts. We talk about toughness for the Jets. I mean, or adding toughness. I mean, there's going to be a team that sees Logan Stanley and thinks, well, he could help us. I think so. Again, I don't know if
it hasn't happened yet. Like even on a shorter term, I don't know whether they were asking for too much and teams like, yeah, we'll talk to you later. That could have been it. We've seen poor agent decisions before that maybe had negative effects for players. I'm really not too sure, but very interested to see how that goes. Listen, you have a great rest of the week at Clear Lake. Good luck to everyone participating in the Tamarack. We're going to get to the Open and more with Mike in just a minute. Kenny, you have a great one.
You too, Huss. Thanks for having me. And heard Elmhurst is looking good. Mike gave me the lowdown after the Pro-Am. So enjoy the weekend as well. And all Manitoba golf fans, get out there and support the event. It's a great event. You're going to see some great players this week if you happen to get your way down to Elmhurst Golf and Country Club.
You know what? We're going to head out to Elmhurst with Mike McIntyre coming up next on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Well, Friday night, Princess Auto Stadium is going to be the place to be as the Bombers looking to get back in the win column against the Ottawa Redblacks. 7 days a week, though, the place to be is the brand new Princess Auto at 500 Panet Road. Of course, Princess Auto founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg, and now coast to coast across the country now has opened their flagship store, 105,000 square feet at 500 Panet Road. And if you haven't been in there, book off a little bit of time and check it out. Make sure to check out the shop where you've got all the tools there. You can learn them, free classes with Reed Carruthers and his great staff there. Obviously, an expanded stock of literally everything, including hunting, fishing, camping, and even a spot where you can try out archery equipment and crossbows and whatnot. Oh, and don't forget, come hungry, breakfast sandwiches, incredible smash burgers. It is a new shopping experience that Winnipeg's never seen before. 500 Panet Road at the brand new Princess Auto. And of course, you can check them out online at princessauto.com. Our friend at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli have had one heck of a summer, and that's not a new thing. They've been doing it for 80 years as the preeminent power sports superstore in Manitoba. If you are looking for new or used motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats and outboard motors, or recreational vehicles, Chud's Power Sports is your number one spot for that. So head on up to Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. Check in with the Derminator and our friends out at Chud's. They'll take very good care of you. And even if summer's winding down for you and you're already looking around to the corner to the snow flying, great 2027 promos and deals on snow machines as well coming up. And it's all waiting for you at Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for over 80 years up in Gimli. You can start shopping today and get those ideas going online at chudspowersports.com. Been a great summer for our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Saw Dr. Terry on the weekend getting out of town, but it's back to work for he and his team as everyone gets ready for the school year. St. Vital Dental Center has been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. So if you are looking for a long-term home for you and your family at one of the top dental clinics, make it St. Vital Dental Center. Beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. And St. Vital Dental Center is where you'll get everything taken care of in one spot, from things like cleanings and checkups to dental surgeries and dental implants. They do it all. So for all your dental needs, hit them up online at St. Vital Dental Center. Make an appointment, and when you pop in, tell them the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. Wow, what a sports weekend we've got coming up. Big weekend in the Canadian Football League. Jays are still grinding, trying to hang in there. We've got the CEBL Championship Series, and of course, NFL right around the corner, which means get ready to spend some time at your local Boston Pizza. No better place to get together with your gang for the big game than your local BP and enjoy ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more, and all the great vibe of Boston Pizza lounges. If you're not at the games, the next best place to be is Boston Pizza. And don't forget, if you're staying at home, you can always get the great taste of BP by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right, we had a great chat to get everyone ready for the Manitoba Open with Dave McMillan yesterday on our Travel Manitoba segment. Let's head back to Elmhurst right now. Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press is on the course. Mike, what's up? How are things at Elmhurst?
Things are absolutely beautiful, Huss. It is. It's a remarkable day out here. I can tell you, a lot of the southern U.S. players, they like it. They're used to playing in like intense heat. They're liking the cooler temperatures. And just a stunning here. I'll just give you the little panoramic here as I'm up on the patio. So you can see the practice green behind me. The afternoon tee times are well underway here. Of course, 156 players, 78 of them go between like 7 a.m. and 9:30, and then the other half go between about 12:30 and 2:30. So coming up shortly, there's 3 Manitobans, as you know, playing in the tournament this year, and 2 of them are going to go out together here shortly. Braxton Kuntz, who had a remarkable Monday qualifying round, 5 under par, which included 3 eagles, Huss, to earn his way in, and he'll be playing with Rory Neal, the reigning Manitoba amateur champ, who gets an automatic sponsors exemption. So I'm sure they'll have a lot of locals following around. There's actually a really nice crowd out here today. Again, beautiful day. It's a great golf course. It's not the longest course, but I can tell you, having played it yesterday in the Pro-Am, the biggest protection this golf course has are its bunkers. I think there's about 100 of them on the course. Some of them, Huss, if people haven't played Elmhurst, some of these bunkers look like they were created by meteors falling out of the sky and creating massive indentations into the Earth's surface. I had one particularly memorable experience yesterday with a bunker on a par 3. I hit my tee shot just to the right of the green. All I'll say is I'm thankful it was an individual stroke play and that it was just a best ball scenario, because I took not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 whacks to get it out of the bunker. I hit the edge the first 5 times. My ball continuously kept rolling back pretty much into my own footprint. And the pro that was playing with us, he had a good chuckle. He's like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's actually impressive, he said. So it's always nice when you can impress a professional golfer with something they haven't seen before. I mean, granted, I wish it was like a hole-in-one or some spectacular shot, but if it meant taking 6 whacks to get out of a bunker, I'll take it.
Yeah, I had some friends that played Elmy about a week and a half ago or so, and they said it is gnarly right now, ready to because I mean the bottom line is the golfers in these events are so elite.
Yeah.
2 years ago it was Shipley and Johnny Kiefer. I mean, Michael Brennan last year. Guys won twice on the PGA Tour this season. Including one just a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, there is a real fine line between this tour, the Corn Ferry Tour, and the PGA Tour. And there's a lot of guys that are coming here right now. They're looking to do what they can do in this event and on the rest of the season that we'll be seeing on the PGA Tour next week. Or next year.
It's not a hot take at all or a bold prediction for me to say that guaranteed, Huss, if folks come out and watch the Manitoba Open over the next 4 days, there are at least a handful of guys who are playing at Elmhurst this week who you will see on the PGA Tour within 2 years, maybe sooner in some cases. Brennan is a perfect example. Hayden Springer is another guy who made like the immediate jump. I'll throw one name out to you, and he just got his round underway. I wrote about him earlier this week. Thomas Ponder. Probably don't know the name. Most golf fans wouldn't know the name Thomas Ponder at this point. You're going to know the name soon enough, though. He's the number 1 player on this tour this year. He's already won once in New Brunswick a few weeks ago. He's played all 10 tournaments. His worst finish, Huss, in his 10 events is a tie for 18th. That's his worst. He's had, I believe it's 3 third-place finishes, a 4th. He is a combined 159 under par in his 40 rounds that he's played on this tour this year. 10 events, 4 rounds every event. I was talking to him about his win in New Brunswick a few weeks ago. He actually started that tournament off with 2 straight bogeys in his first round. He then went on to shoot 8 under in that round, so 10 under on the next 16 holes, and finished the week at 28 under par. His first round included an albatross and an eagle. So yeah, these guys are pretty good. But Elmhurst, again, it's not the longest course. There is a par 5 out here this week though, Huss. It's playing, I believe, for the pros at 622 yards. I may be off a few yards. So they have added some length. I mean, they've got the tees pushed back as far as humanly possible. Obviously, the one factor that can, be a good equalizer is the wind. We're used to a lot of wind in Manitoba, especially in the summers. It's not really blowing today, but I'll say this, the best score so far through the first half of the first round is 5 under par. So, nobody has absolutely torn the course up yet. Someone asked me the other day for a prediction on a winning score this week. I just pulled the number 18 under out of my head. And, I'm pretty confident something in and around that number will be the winning score. But yeah, this is always a favorite of mine to cover, Huss. I've been coming to the Manitoba Open since I was a teenager. I used to caddy in it. I loved the experience as a teenage golfer, being able to be around, these great players. That was back in the days when Steve Stricker and Mike Weir and all them were on the were on the Canadian tour. And now this will be my 10th summer of covering it. Always a highlight of the year. And yeah, looking forward to some great golf. Last year was not great. We got washed out. 72 holes turned into 36, unfortunately, at Breezy Bend. But we're going to get all 72 in this week. And conditions are great. Golf should be great. Should be a real fun weekend here.
While we're talking golf, just before we pivot from it, there's another amazing Manitoba golf story happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's happening out at the Canadian Men's Mid-Amateur Championship. Brandon's Evan Noctegal is in the lead, Mike. He is right now -4 today, or I should say total par to gross, I guess, -17.
Yeah.
3 shots clear of Garrett Rank, who hockey fans will know as an NHL referee, and one that, frankly, maybe not a big favorite of Winnipeg Jet fans. But Evan, he's on the 17th hole right now, as is Garrett. 3-shot lead. He's going to be going into the 4th round with a little bit of distance between him and the chasers.
Yeah, it's a terrific story for sure. Evan, who was the Manitoba Amateur champ last year, actually played in the Manitoba Open last year because he got that exemption. He didn't win the amateur this year, but he is a decorated amateur golfer, and what a week he is having. And for folks unfamiliar who may be wondering, what is the mid-am and what's the difference between the mid-am and the am? The mid-am is for players age 25 and up. So you don't get those, 20 to 24 or whatever, 18 to 24-year-old hot shots in it. But to be leading the national mid-am is remarkable. And, there is a lot of elite players in the field, and it's not just Canadians, Huss. It's a Canadian event. If you look at the leaderboard, there's a bunch of Americans that come up to play in this. And yeah, Evans put together, putting the finishing touches on another great round here. So that'll be 3. And hopefully he can finish it off tomorrow in round 4. I'm told the plan is Evan's actually going to be out here on the weekend here at Elmhurst watching the Manitoba Open. So no doubt he'd love to be here at Elmhurst as a champion and getting a lot of accolades and congrats from other golf fans and golfers. But yeah, really cool story. And it's funny, he's in the final group today with Garrett Rank. Some fans may be saying, well, why does that name sound familiar? I'll remind you of Garrett Rank's most famous incident with the Winnipeg Jets. And I can guarantee you Connor Hellebuck is not a fan of Garrett Rank. It was Garrett Rank a few years ago in Dallas who was the official that stood and watched Well, Connor Hellebuck lay face down on the ice without his goalie mask, which had been knocked off his head, face down, motionless, while play continued, and the Dallas Stars scored into an otherwise empty net to tie the game late. History shows the Jets went on to win that game in overtime. Garrett Rank did not have a good game that day. But I'll say this about Garrett Rank. He obviously had a great last season, Huss, because he was one of the referees who worked the Stanley Cup final. And, for anybody who knows how officiating works, they have an internal scoring system. And, they decide internally who goes on to playoffs and then who keeps going on as the numbers get whittled down. Obviously, Garrett Rank scored very high last year. So he obviously had a great year as an NHL referee. And he's also an excellent amateur golfer. But Manitoba's Evan Noctegal right now giving him a run for that championship. So we'll see how it plays out as they head into the final round tomorrow.
Hey, Mike, just while you're here, I got to just quickly go back to Mission Control and bring in Connor. We're paying attention to this Blue Jays game throughout the afternoon.
Yes.
Connor, did you see the catch by Nathan Lucas just now?
I did. I was sick. Up against the wall, saved at least a run or two, I'd say. Like a double with a run coming in.
Almost doubled him up, just like, fully extended right at the top of the wall. Got it.
Love it.
Bobbled it throwing back, or they might have caught the runner on first. But yeah, Mike, I mean, the Jays, Bieber just left the game. He went 7 complete, giving up just 1 run. They've got 5 runs on the board right now.
Beautiful.
And some new guys. Like, I'll be honest, I had never even heard of Daz Cameron before Ken came on. He had a 440-yard bomb to the field, and this just makes you feel so old. I just found out he's the son of former Mariner Mike Cameron, which drove me nuts right now. But I know you're a big baseball guy, a big Jays guy. This race is on right now, and I'll tell you what, if they can win this game and take 2 of 3 in the Trop before going out to finish this 2-week meat grinder through the AL East, the Jays will be in really good shape when they go for a much lesser schedule the rest of the way after finishing up this weekend.
I believe starting next week, Huss, the Jays will have 30 games left. And correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I saw a stat. They don't have a single opponent left that's above 500 and in a playoff spot right now.
Yeah.
Now, those, that doesn't guarantee anything, but this is a team that a few weeks ago, and I love watching the Jays. I love the Jays. I must admit, I was kind of resigned to the idea that it's going to be about 6 to 7 weeks of just watching meaningless baseball, a team just playing out the string, and that's not a whole lot of fun. If nothing else, they're playing now meaningful mid to late August games, and they've almost guaranteed now that they're going to be playing meaningful September games, which is a lot of fun. And who would have thunk it? Like, we've seen this happen, in baseball and hockey, where, team unloads some pending free agents, seemingly turning into sellers. And all of a sudden, maybe guys are just a little looser, or, you bring in some youth and some energy. Heck, Huss, we could say the same thing about the Jets last year. That they just look like a different team after they quote unquote sold. Some would argue better team once they did that. And, it seems like that's what's happening with these Blue Jays. A little infusion of youth and energy and excitement. And it's been fun to see. Let's just hope that Vladdy Guerrero, who's currently sidelined with a concussion and did not look at all like himself most of this season, maybe this week or so away, and he could be activated, I think, as early as Sunday. Let's hope that he's been reprogrammed a little bit and into maybe the previous version of Vladdy, because if he could come back, swinging a big bat, that in and of itself would be like adding a massive free agent addition. So we'll see what happens. But the Trop has been a a stadium of nightmares for the Blue Jays. This is a place where they routinely get absolutely humbled. So yeah, if they could take 2 out of 3, that's a huge development for sure.
Well, they're up 5-1 right now, top of the 8th. I think it was Big Earn that just moved the runner along. So they're first and third, no out right now. Things are looking real, real good for the Blue Jays.
By the way, Huss, sorry to interrupt. I have a message to pass on to you from one Jim Toth, who was on scene here. He just yelled at me from down below to let you know, and I hope I heard this right, that you are going down at the DAF tournament this weekend.
Yes, the DAF tournament. It's a big one.
Yeah. He says you're going down.
It's an acronym for Divots and Friends.
Oh, okay.
That's what we'll go with. Yes, we are taking it out there, and listen, Jim, maybe he spent all summer drastically improving his golf game. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. But say hi to say hi to Toast for me. We were just hitting with Ken, but Dave Manuke from Illegal Curve doing some digging, a report that Elias Salmonson's rehab is going quite well. And I mean, wouldn't it be a huge boost for the Jets if he could actually be out there on the ice taking part in sort of part of training camp? But even still, I mean, if we're talking about potentially Elias in the first half of October, as opposed to November, be a big help for Winnipeg with that really tough schedule early on, and knowing the way the blue line looks when their top 6 are there, or when they have to put in one of Fleury, St. Ivany, Bauer, Brown, whoever it is. I mean, there's a pretty clear delineation with Ferraro in town now between your top 6 and everybody else.
Well, and the other thing too, Huss, is, the Jets, we just have to look last year at a, to find a Jets team that didn't start the year healthy. And, they were without a couple key guys at the time. You never want to start the year with a key player sidelined. And, we kind of thought that it was inevitable that they were going to start this year without Salamonson, just based on the tenuous timeline that Scott Arniel and I think Kevin Cheveldayoff advanced. But, one thing about it is there was a lot of time built in here for recovery, rehabilitation, and, obviously Elias Salamonson, he's young. And I expect he's highly motivated, Huss. He knows the opportunity that is staring him in the face. And, maybe we shouldn't be all that surprised if he's in fact ahead of schedule. Obviously there's only 4 preseason games this year, so there's not as much runway for guys to kind of ramp up to game type conditions. But yeah, that would go down as a potential early win for the Jets. Because I think, we saw last year what Salamonson brings, especially once he really settled in and got comfortable. And, if he doesn't have to worry about, okay, one mistake's going to take me out of the lineup or get me sent back down to the AHL. Like, if he can play a little looser, a little more free, and just be himself. And I think he can do all that because the Jets, he's earned that trust. I think we're going to see the best version of him. And yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people, are still down on the state of the Jets. And I've seen a lot of the narrative, they haven't done anything to improve their team. That's obviously not taking into account what a Vigo Bjork might be able to do, what some other guys might be able to do internally, whether it's a Cole Perfetti, whether it's an Adam Lowry, improving on a season that he admits was not up to snuff. But if you look at the blue line, I don't know how you can make the case that the Jets haven't improved. Mario Ferraro alone improves that blue line. And, Elias Salamonson, if he's paired, let's say, on that third pair. Again, I take you back to last year where Stanley and Shen was a regular third pairing being rolled out by this team. Are people really trying to say that Ferraro Salamonson, if that's what it ends up being, or Ferraro DeMello, let's say Salamonson maybe moves up with Josh Morrissey. Like, is that not a big improvement over Stanley Shen or Fleury Shen? I think it clearly is. So, that's one area to me that the Jets have substantially improved is the blue line, both with the addition of Mario Ferraro and the promotion of Elias Salamonson to NHL regular. And so, yeah, the sooner the Jets get him in the lineup, the better they'll be. And if that potentially means, almost right off the hop, that's a big win for the Jets for sure.
Mike, one other non-Jets note that I want to make point out, and this could be the most interesting story in the league as we get to camp, but more of the fallout and aftermath from the Flyers offer sheet to Leo Carlsson. I mean, I speculated at the time that even if they don't get him, this is going to be a big FU from Danny Briere and the Flyers to one Cutter Gauthier. The Ducks have $9 million in cap space. There was a report out that Gauthier turned down an offer in excess of 13. I think there's a very good chance that this could be a long, potentially messy holdout. And who knows whether Cutter Gauthier doesn't end up on another team at a certain point because the Ducks can't handle it. You knew that this was not the end of the story to it all when the Ducks decided to match the offer at 18 sheets a year for Leo.
Yeah, I heard that it was a $14 million offer that he said pound sand to. His agent, by the way, is someone well known to Jets fans, Kurt Overhart, who among or what do some call him? Kurt Overcharge?
Yes.
Kurt Overhart was Jacob Trouba's, and one thing we know about Kurt Overhart, and we also know this now about Cutter Gauthier, they are not afraid to take a stand and kind of plant the proverbial flag in the ground. And, we obviously saw Jacob Trouba, for example, when he was a Kurt Overhart client, have a bit of a lengthy, messy situation here in Winnipeg. And, we already know what happened to get him out of Philly. I know a little bit about the Gauthier family. I got to know them a bit when I was working on my Rucker McGroarty feature a few years ago, Huss. The McGroartys and the Gauthiers are thick as thieves. And when you start to maybe connect certain dots and pieces of the puzzle, maybe none of this should be all that surprising. But yes, to your original point, if I'm Pat Verbeek, I'm sweating bullets right now because rock meet hard place. And quite frankly, I'm a little surprised Pat Verbeek still has his job after what happened with the whole Carlson situation. And whereas maybe we thought that was the worst it was going to get, Huss, turns out there's maybe another layer to the proverbial rock bottom for the financial constraints that organization is in. And it'll be some good drama, some good theater to play out here. As you say, I would not expect an easy or quick resolution to it.
Yeah, everyone else has their money in their deals, and Cutter doesn't have it, and the Ducks don't have the money to pay him. So a lot still needs to happen. Mike, listen, we'll let you get back to the golf course to follow around Braxton Kuntz and Rory Neal. Yeah. Of course, they're two of the three Manitobans. Ryan McMillan also playing. He was out earlier today. And folks, get out to Elmhurst. Sounds like they've got a great crowd there for Thursday. It's just going to get better throughout the rest of the tourney for the annual Manitoba Open on the PGA Tour Americas. Mike, have a great one. By the way, the chat is suggesting to mix in some sunscreen.
I was looking at my face here, and this is more just the result. It looks redder than it really is, but I do appreciate the suggestion because I do look a bit like a tomato right now. I agree with that.
Okay, have a great one, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right, there's Mike McIntyre out at Elmhurst. We've got still lots more to get to. We went for about 90 this morning with our favorite futures bets for NFL. but we got to worry about some fantasy drafts the upcoming season. Our guy, Thomas Tipple, joins us next from Fantasy Points for a little NFL and fantasy talk. We've still got our power polls, cool bet lines, and more as WST continues. Hard to believe that hockey season is just about here, but if you head down to Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway, you'll know that it is. Royal Sports has been Manitoba's hockey superstore for over 50 years. And with players getting back into camps, training, and getting ready for training camps, the Royal Sports Hockey Department is a very busy place. For new players, they've got you covered from top to bottom, whether it's sticks, skates, equipment for goalies. Royal has it all. And the best part about it is they've got hockey players working in the hockey department to make sure they're getting you fitted properly and getting the right equipment for your level and need. It's not just hockey, though, of course. We've got everything coming from the summer. Huge selection of bikes and e-bikes, soccer, softball, baseball, tennis. And for your fan gears coming in, new NHL merch and new NFL merch coming by the week. It's all waiting for you at Royal Sports, Manitoba's sports superstore, 750 Pembina Highway. Give them a follow on Instagram for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. What a run and season it's been for our Winnipeg Goldeyes, who did not sweep the weekend. The incredible franchise record winning streak ended at 13. But it's time to start another one with a big week-long homestand beginning tomorrow night on Toonie Tuesday with all those great concession specials. The Goldeyes are right in it, taking a run at first place, and it's going to be an incredibly exciting final month of the season. So make sure to get out for some Goldeyes baseball this week, starting on Tuesday, right through Sunday. Goldeyes.com/tickets is where you're going to want to get your seats. Make sure to get them into your phone digitally so you can just walk right into the game and avoid lines. And you can go to goldeyes.com for more information on the remaining schedule as well as promo nights. We'll have Andrew Collier set up to see the homestand hopefully tomorrow on the program, but make plans to get out to the ballpark this week. Goldeyes are playing some great baseball, and there's nothing like Blue Cross Park in the summer. Speaking of the summer, there's still some time to get out and do some great things, folks. And if you are planning another adventure, make sure to start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. Looking for ideas on the go? Follow along on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't-miss experiences from across the province. Or if you want a personal touch, pop down to the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. One of those great things to do in Manitoba during the summer is hit up Assiniboia Downs, and they are back with live racing tomorrow and Wednesday this week, 7:30 post time. Of course, that's free parking, free admission, and all the great times at Assiniboia Downs. They do also, a date to remember is August 24th. A couple Mondays from now, they'll be back at it with a special Monday night of live racing. It's the Monday Madness concession deals, and the Wiener Dogs are back. They were such a big hit earlier this year. So make a point of getting down to Assiniboia Downs, and if you do want to really do it up, make a reservation in the clubhouse dining room. Get on that prime rib buffet and enjoy the racing from the clubhouse dining room. But whether you're in the third level, on the grounds, in the dining room, there's nothing like a night at Assiniboia Downs. All right, let's get to it. I see some people already fired up for some fantasy talk in the upcoming NFL season. Again, if you want to, if you missed it this morning, head on over to the YouTube channel afterwards, the pod. Myself, Connor, Pat, and Jake from CoolBet did about 90 minutes today, rattling off our picks, our favorite bets for divisions, win totals, playoffs, props for players, awards for the end of the year, as well as the conference and Super Bowl. So get to all of that. We'll be putting a bunch of it out on socials as well over the next little bit. but I've already had a busy fantasy football week. The next couple of weeks is when it really gets cranked up, and that's why we welcome in the guru, who is looking sharp today. He promised there was going to be a did you go for a full makeover or something? You got high and tight on the sides. The beard looks great. Thomas Tipple's back from fantasypoints.com. What's up?
Appreciate it. And I will say, manis and petties for men, completely underrated. Go take care of yourself. Take care of your feet. Take care of your cuticle. All that stuff. You got to keep it up. You got to get it done at least once a year, guys. Let's clean up.
Well, hey, it's a new season. Even if you were one of the guys that had to do some stupid punishment for being the worst in your league last year, we're back. It's a new year. We move, as they say. And many teams have been doing that through the offseason as well. Thomas, give me, listen, everyone, when they're doing their drafts, whether it's at Fantasy Points or just the default of whatever your site you're using, there are rankings, there's ADP, which encompasses so much information coming in. But when it's up to you to draft and you're picking between a couple players, there's some teams that I think people are really high on. And there's a few other situations or offenses that have otherwise very talented, productive players that you might be a little worried that this offense is going to be sketchy and it might hurt the fantasy value. From your perspective, let's talk about the good first off. Is there an offense or two that you're particularly high on to the point where you might be taking players a little earlier to make sure you get them so you're not stuck with guys that you might be as talented but just aren't in as good situations fantasy-wise?
Yeah, I think every year you want players on the best offenses, maybe not the best teams. And I think that that's a distinction that people lose sight of. I'm not here to talk about the real NFL, right? I know that teams are going to be good, but like the Texans, for example, they are a top team in the AFC. They've won a playoff game every year since CJ Stroud has been in the league. They have one of the fiercest defenses. That's also why I don't want to go near them, right? And we'll get to them in a moment. But as for the best, I obviously want the Chargers. They're going to be a fairly good team this year. They brought in very good run game coordinator, better than pass game coordinator, what we saw in Miami. But I like Hampton for that offense. They have sleepers on that team, guys like Keaton Mitchell. You can do what you want with their tight end and Oronde Gadsden, and I would not be drafting David Njoku. I think he's a bit washed. But you've got guys like Omarion Hampton going around the 1-2 turn and redraft. The Cardinals is an interesting team for me because I love a lot of their assets, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. There's some underlying metrics there that show that he's played a little bit better than maybe what the draft capital had expected. And people can't really separate the disappointment from where he was drafted to what his production was. But Trey McBride is a 1-2 turn type guy, especially in tight end premium leagues. And then, of course, Jeremiah Love, who just suffered a high ankle sprain. So I like that offense a lot, mostly because their defense is so bad, Huss. They're going to be down 21 points before you can sneeze when the game starts. So we are just in pure PPR scam garbage time. Trey McBride was one of the leaders in that category. Teams playing for behind, targets and receptions and points scored in what we call garbage time or coming back.
I'm glad you brought that up. That up because that is something that, to be honest, like I'm kind of high. I picked Malik Washington, the last pick in one of my drafts. Yeah. I'm looking at, guys like Michael Wilson and Harrison. I mean, if these teams are getting boat raced right out of the gate and they're often playing, 60-minute games where it's essentially over 20 or 25 minutes into the game, that actually can be incredibly beneficial for the fantasy players on your roster, because garbage time is when a lot of players go to eat. And guess what? They don't count how you got them when you're adding them up the week against your opponent.
That's right. And of course, you've got other high-powered offenses where it just doesn't matter. You look at a team like Detroit, and their whole thing is that they put the hammer down the whole game and it don't stop. Now, that can be to a detriment because some of their guys get banged up, and yet they're still trying to throttle you by 45 points when this game, like you mentioned, has been put to bed for a while. So that's definitely something. But then there are also some really good teams that will be up a lot, which will also help certain fantasy players. So guys like that I like is Derrick Henry on the Ravens. They have a good offense. Their defense looks to be coming around. But the thing with Derrick Henry is he's so much better when they're ahead. So for Derrick Henry, you love the offense. It's an efficient offense. They don't throw a lot. That's good for Henry. Since Derrick Henry has come around, Lamar Jackson's passing touchdowns have dipped quite a bit. Same with his rushing touchdowns inside the 10 himself. It's all Derrick Henry, so I like him on that offense for sure. Jonathan Taylor, who is on pace to be unreal, better than his RB1 overall season. He was closing in on a pace of 2,000 yards, upwards of almost 20 touchdowns. But then, of course, Phillip Rivers has to unretire and come off the couch, and the Colts season ends in shambles. I love the Colts offense. Actually, I like Tyler Warren. I'm very much into Josh Downs this year, even though they signed Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen did not play a lot outside and 3 wide receiver sets last year with the Chargers, and the drumbeat has been positive for Josh Downs all year, playing in 2 wide receiver sets. So I'm very into Josh Downs. His price is very affordable for that upside. Michael Pittman Jr. being gone, but I like Warren. Pierce, I'm staying away from entirely, even though I love the offense. The atrophy on the leg, not something I really want to deal with a bum ankle. Already talking about injections into there, not something I want to mess with. But Warren and Downs and Taylor, 3 players I really like. The Bills, obviously, James Cook and Josh Allen. And I'm going to go on record here is that I like DJ Moore for this year. I get to talk to Joe Marino of Locked On every single week for First Read over at fantasypoints.com. And he was talking about how a lot of talk has been that DJ Moore, even before he had the little ankle thing in the preseason game, was the first read option on every single play that Josh Allen was coming back from. There's a lot of comparisons to the Stephon Diggs scenario there in Buffalo. So with his price being very affordable, you get a very affordable high-end wide receiver 2 with the upside of being a wide receiver 1. Now, I don't know how washed DJ Moore is. Some people think very washed. I just think DJ Moore was having battles with DJ Moore last year, not battles with health or anything like that. I just think he was a little bit out of it, not being the guy anymore. But I'm obviously in on that Bills offense, and DJ Moore is probably one of the better steals in redraft this year.
Now, when it comes to offenses that you might be a little nervous about, I know you mentioned the Chargers. I can't, every single year at this time, almost to the date, they have a massive injury on the offensive line. This one's at the center position, so it's maybe not as issue, but O-line can really, really devastate your offense. And, there's not the sexy players that you're drafting, but they'll affect your running back. They can certainly affect your quarterback. Whether it's because of O-line or just lack of personnel, is there an offense or two that you're a little more nervous on than seemingly most of the Gen Pop?
Carolina. I don't want to go anywhere near Carolina except for maybe somebody like Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks is getting a ton of steam in the dynasty community specifically, but he is a former, he was actually a relatively good prospect. He goes in the second round. Chuba Hubbard it's been kind of bad, if I'm being honest. I mean, shout out a Canadian NFL player. We love to see that kind of thing, but he did lose his job to Rico Dowdle, gets playing time again a little bit later in the season. He's been an inefficient runner. Jonathan Brooks, a little bit more explosive. He is coming off of 2 significant knee surgeries. One being a failed knee surgery, and then he retore that again. I believe he has 6 touches in the NFL period, but the upside is all there. Here's a fun little stat for you, Huss. Since Dave Canales has gotten to Carolina, and I think even one season before that, the running back that was projected to be the number 1 in Carolina has not been. They signed Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders isn't the lead running back that year. They bring in Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, or Jonathan Brooks, and then Rico Dowdle shows up. And then Rico Dowdle's supposed to be a guy, then Chuba Hubbard takes the job. And then Chuba Hubbard this year is supposed to be the guy, and Rico Dowdle ends up doing well and takes that job with Chuba getting it back at the end of the year. So It's a little bit of pattern matching there, but it could be interesting. I'm still wanting to roster guys like Chuba Hubbard, but I don't believe in Bryce Young. I don't like seeing a quarterback have to make a jump fadeaway to throw a ball over his offensive line. There's just something to a player potentially needing stilts to say some plays. So Tet McMillan is getting steamed up in a lot of drafts. And I think in redraft, I'm good there. There's going to be some upside spite weeks, but I think at his price, there's just going to be some better players. I am very concerned about the Giants. I know a lot of people really like this offense. They have some really fun pieces, guys like Jackson Dart and Neighbors coming back, looking a little bit healthy. They do sign Najee because Tyrone Tracy Jr. is quite possibly one of the worst pass protecting running backs I've ever seen, which is a side note. If anyone tells you to get really excited because a wide receiver has converted to running back and they can catch passes like Tyrone Tracy did, that doesn't mean they can pass protect. And if you can't pass protect, you're not seeing the field in passing situations. So Tyrone Tracy Jr. gets Jackson Dart absolutely blown up. The next day, they signed Najee Harris, even though beat reporters in New York will try to tell you that they were already talking to him and those two things aren't connected. Yeah, right. That's absolutely the case here. But even deeper, you know him well, Matt Nagy. Unfortunately, you know him pretty well. He's listed as the offensive coordinator. Huss, I can tell you our film charters and Brett Whitefield, again, of the NFL First Read podcast, told me directly that was Greg Roman's offense. So if you were worried about Greg Roman's offense for pass catchers in Baltimore, you should be as concerned in New York. Now, Neighbors is a different beast than anything that Baltimore had with the Ravens, but we know that this is a limited offense. They will run the ball. But Cam Scatterbo coming off the ankle injury, now with Najee, Jackson Dart stealing some rushing touchdowns. The appeal to Cam Scatterbo was the volume, and that volume may not be there. So I'm a little bit worried about that offense. And I'll be honest, I'm worried about the Chiefs offense for fantasy football this year. Ken Walker is a home run hitting running back. He will have 8 carries for 12 yards, having you pull your hair out, and he'll hit 1 run for 70 yards and make his day look a lot better. The pass catchers, the number 1 height pass catcher in camp right now is a Senior Bowl standout in Cyrus Allen. Travis Kelce showed massive signs of decline. We don't know what we're going to get from Rashee Rice. He's a limited player in a role that suits him really well. And with Bieniemy coming back, we don't know what the offense is totally going to look like. I like Thornton. I thought he was one of their best wide receivers earlier in the year last year, but Patrick Mahomes' decline in deep ball accuracy, becoming one of the worst in the NFL in that case, coming back again from an injury himself with an offensive line that is declining. I am concerned for the Chiefs on offense this year, and especially at the prices that you have to pay to get them. And I would also say just stay away from the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward looks Will Levis-esque. That was some of the worst tape that I've ever had to go through and watch when it comes to Cam Ward in that you want to see some development mentally from a quarterback going from year 1 to year 2. And I have to tell you, he looked like maybe the confidence just isn't there. Maybe he just didn't learn the playbook as well, but the instincts weren't quite there. When you're running an RPO type offense, you need to make good decisions, and he just wasn't. So Carnell Tate, I loved Carnell Tate coming in. I'm not drafting him in redraft. I'll take him in dynasty, but his price in redraft. And Wandale Wario Robinson was one of my favorite players last year because he was a PPR scam artist in New York. He's not for you this year. If you're a Tennessee fan, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, it could be a long one. Before we go, I got to ask you about 2 players. One you mentioned,
Sure.
One you didn't. I am very concerned about the quarterback situation in Atlanta for obvious reasons.
Yes.
I know that.
Could it be the Twitter shot of Michael Penix Jr. pointing and laughing and scoffing at Tua while he was sitting on the bench and not looking at him? Not great, Bob.
6 of one, half a dozen to the other, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Drake London's amazing. Is he going to be able to get balls to catch? And the other guy I want your thoughts on in PPR formats. You mentioned him with 2 great years the last couple of years in Carolina. Now he's in Pittsburgh, is Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, so I like Rico Dowdle as a nice flyer type play. I think Jaylen Warren's a really good running back, and it's really hard to take a player like Warren, who's been very good in all scenarios, and kind of put that talent back in the bag. However, Rico Dowdle has been really good as of late, but it's important to note that the NFL valued him exactly how you thought, with such a minimal type contract, but they did let Kenneth Gainwell walk. Now, if you're telling me that Rico Dowdle is going to be a little bit more the 1-2 down type runner, there's some value in that in a Mike McCarthy type offense, and Jaylen Warren might move a little bit more into the Kenneth Gainwell role, which again was very pass catching friendly. Also keep in mind how much Aaron Rodgers checks the ball down. It's time to throw right. This dude does not want to get hit, and I don't blame him. I'm 37, going to turn 38, and I don't even like stubbing my toe, let alone at 40 something years old getting rocked by defensive linemen and linebackers. I wouldn't like that either. But that time to throw is definitely speeding up, even with the improvements on the offensive line there in Pittsburgh. So I like Rico Dowdle. I think he's a cheap type play in redraft and in dynasty. You don't have to pay much to get him, but you can't expect too much out of Rico Dowdle because they are going to be rotating the backs. Now, as for my guy, and I mean my guy on Dynasty Points, especially our secondary podcast that's not on YouTube, the Dynasty Points Market Report, Andy Buckler and I call him Little Points London, because every once in a while Drake London is going to go on this run where he scores you 9, 11, 8, and next thing you know, he's scoring 35, 42, 27. And it's not like Michael Penix is exactly an all-star, all-pro quarterback, but he found the number one guy. One thing I believe Tua can do is find one guy in an offense. He did this with Tyreek Hill. He did this with Jalen Waddle. We've seen him support players before in fantasy. Now, the round 1 and into round 2 price in redraft is risky. I would rather have a guy like George Pickens. I would rather have a guy like CeeDee Lamb. I think T. Higgins could give you similar week-to-week upside, but rounds later. But ultimate upside, Drake London signed a massive contract. They're going to work in getting him the ball specifically. There's going to be designed targets. Going to be interesting to see with the play caller this year and how it works out for them on that side. I do think the Falcons defense is kind of cheeks. So there's going to be some opportunity there. Often the risk I have, actually, I wouldn't even call it risk. What I want to see is Michael Penix come in and throw the football, because Michael Penix targeted London a lot. My concern is with Tua starting the year and they switch back and forth 2 or 3 separate times at quarterback. That's rough. Your offense can't get into rhythm. It's hard to keep things consistent, and it's a rough state for the Falcons. But I like Drake London. His price is just, you're getting Drake London at the price of what his week like 16 and 17 performances were with Michael Penix, which is insanely high. But the low side of that is not really being priced in for him right now. I'm probably passing in round 1, taking some of the other wide receivers I mentioned more than Drake London. But please, Atlanta, get my guy a quarterback. It's killing me out there. This social media post, Huss, and this is where I knew it was going wrong in Atlanta. They posted, they've taken it down, but I think I have a screenshot of it somewhere. I'll try to find it for you. But it says QB none. And it had both of their quarterbacks in the post. Who is sending that? What intern is putting QB none with both of their quarterbacks? And then during the first preseason game, the quarterback is caught scoffing at the other one. Like, this is a problem. First off, lefty quarterbacks are weird. You're going to put 2 of them on the same offense? No, thank you. It makes no sense. I can't believe it.
Stefanski's got his work cut out for him. Folks, we'll have plenty more with Thomas as we get ready for the NFL season. But in the meantime, I urge you, check out fantasypoints.com. Spent a lot of time on the site this week working with the data suite. Can't wait for the games to start cracking and seeing what's going on. Linked my team. Just did the draft last night. I've linked my team, which is going to be really fun. And getting into some of the podcasts, and there are so many. One of the things that helped me last night, just in a regular redraft, was going through a great piece based on tiers. There was targets. It was Graham Barfield, a great piece on the tiers to 150. helped me big time because, listen, different, there'll be guys, a guy will be 48, 49, 50. I mean, there's not a lot of difference, as you go down. People have different opinions. But if you can get a real smart person to explain the different tiers where there is a drop off,
Yes,
it really helped me in targeting a few guys later on in the draft, and I think it helped me with the team. Listen, you guys are cooking right now, and if you missed the last time, they have completely revamped the data suite. And by the way, I should mention, if you are going to sign up for the season and get the package, use the promo code WST for a 15% discount on it because listen, there's been a lot of people trying to get to this point over the last 15, 20 years. I got to tell you, dude, you guys put in the work in the off season right now because this is as impressive a setup and package that I have seen ever in fantasy football.
I appreciate that. And look, Data Suite 2.0 is not that far away. So if you're worried about it being a little bit too in-depth, not as user-friendly, don't worry. Fantasy Points Front Office is very easy to use. It's got a lot of the data in there. It uses all of our leading projections and rankings like Huss was talking about, the tier sheet, everything there to help you every step of the way.
Great stuff. Thomas, have a great one. And if you do have a question or two, he's great at getting back to people. Fire him a DM, El Nostra Thomas on X. He'll hook you up. Dude, we'll talk to you next week. Have a great one.
Thanks, guys. Be safe.
You know it. There's Thomas Tipple, the very dapper today, Thomas Tipple. The glow up is real for week 1 of the NFL season. Right, Connor and I, we're talking a little NFL right now. We spent a lot of time this morning. Connor and I are going to double up. We're going to hit some Chuds, Power Sports, Power Polls, our own personal preseason NFL top 5s coming up in just a minute, and we'll hit the cool bet lines and let you know how the Jays did next on WST. I saw our pal Doug Brown making the most of the bye week on the weekend. Doug was out at Aikens Lake pulling out some massive fish out of the water. There's still great catches to be had and great times this fishing season, but Aikens Lake is planning well into 2027 right now. If you're thinking about a corporate trip, a family trip, maybe something that you've been waiting to do for many years, booking is going well into 2027 right now. So if you're looking for a fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in just a couple hours from Winnipeg with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality, that is what the Aikens experience is all about. Check them out online at aikenslake.com or all their social channels at Aikens Lake for more information on remaining availability for 2026 and booking into 2027. Lots going on in the golf course these days. We had Mitchell Brennan run away with the PGA Tour event on the Wyndham, and now it's on to the playoffs. But I can tell you the Breezy Bend Golf Report for this weekend is that Breezy Bend is absolutely mint and immaculate. Got a chance to play there on the weekend, just had a great time with some friends, and holy smokes, is the course in great shape. I think many of our courses are, but we're seeing now, some of the new greens that they built over the last couple of years, the course improvements really starting to take hold and take shape. If you are thinking about a great long-term home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, check out breezybend.ca. Or give our pal Corey Johnson a call at 895-7205 for more information on Breezy Bend for 2027. All right, we'll continue the show, but first up, let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's get Connor back in here as we finish a very busy day here at WST. Connor, we were in the lab last night. We were making all of our picks on all these different categories and futures. But I figure it is a great time right now, considering all the work we did last night, to give our personal top fives going into the season. Of course, all of our power polls are brought to you by our friends at Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for over 80 years. You can check out everything the folks at Chud's have going on right now at chudspowersports.com. Click on that True North Parts link as well for the great clearance deals on gear and accessories. And of course, you're going to want to pop up and see the Derminator finishing up summer, getting ready for snowmobile season and more there at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. Why don't you start? Interested in what you have cooked up, Connor?
Sure.
For your top five in the preseason.
Well, I got my Niners in there at number 5. I do think like they're pretty hurt. What? They won a playoff game last year and had no Nick Bosa, no Michael Williams. They added Mike Evans. Like I think 5 is fine. They're pretty hurt, but I have them in at 5. I mean, they beat the Eagles on the road last year. They ran into the Seahawks and got smoked by the Seahawks, but their defense was so banged up. They're healthier this year, shockingly enough, because it seems like everyone is hurt in camp, but they're actually healthier. If McCaffrey's good to go to start the season and Mike Evans is good to go, I think this offense is going to be rolling. George Kittle's going to be there early. I think they're 5. They do play the number 1 team on my power poll week 1, so it doesn't look great there. But the Bills come in at number 4. I like the addition of DJ Moore. You just heard Thomas Tipple talk about him. I'm also in on DJ Moore and redraft for fantasy. I think Josh Allen's going to pepper him because there's not many game-breaking wide receivers in that wide receiver room right now. New England at number 3. They made it to the Super Bowl last year representing the AFC and then added A.J. Brown as well. So I think they are going to have a tougher schedule, but I do think New England is just straight up a better team this year. So I have them at number 3. And then the Seahawks, I have at number 2. They are the reigning Super Bowl champions, but this is more of a projection going forward. And the LA Rams, after the year they had last year with MVP Matthew Stafford, went out and traded for Myles Garrett and Trent McDuffie, and now probably have a top 5 defense in football as well as Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Devontae Adams. I think this is one of the most loaded rosters in a preseason, like at this time of the year, that I've seen in a number of years here. They are loaded, and I picked them this morning on WC Awareness to win the Super Bowl, so I have them at number 1 on my preseason power poll.
Yeah, the Rams are the favorite, the clear favorite right now. And they've got the star power. But if we transition over to mine, to be the man, you got to beat the man. The Seattle Seahawks are the man right now. They're returning most of that Super Bowl winning team. And while they are in the toughest division in football, and I certainly am here for the arguments of with the ads of the Rams that they're the team, I think I go into this season still with the Seattle Seahawks as the team to beat. I will give the Rams, though, credit for being the number 2 team. To me, there are those 2 teams and then a bit of a gap from everywhere else. And to be honest, I think the odds right now on the Super Bowl with the over at Coolbet with the Rams being plus 550 and the Seahawks, I believe, at 10-1 with the Bills, honestly, doesn't really give credit to Mike Macdonald and his team with what they've been able to accomplish right now. Like I really think they're actually 1150. This actually dropped a little bit, maybe from earlier today when we were talking about it. Anyways, like I'm not necessarily making the pick that Seattle wins it, but right now, power poll going into this season, Seattle is number 1 for me. The Rams are number 2. I really struggled with the other plays. I mean, if you look at the NFC going in, once you get past those teams, you've got the Lions who ended up being 4th, but it was like 9-8, 9-7-1. I mean, everyone was really tight in that division. The Packers, the Eagles, the Niners, and the Bears. If you get to our special from this morning, you'll hear I'm really high on the Bears, and I actually considered putting them in as the next team up sort of in the NFC. But I went with the AFC teams. It's very, very wide open. And, I probably, based on giving New England the nod over LA, maybe should have given the Patriots a bit more credit. that being said, I think they had one of the luckiest seasons in the recent history of the NFL. I thought they played an absolute cupcake schedule. And then when playoff time came, everything sort of just fell their way, including Bo Nix getting hurt after winning, that they made it through. But they deserve to be in there. They went to the Super Bowl. They're at number 4. And it pains me to do this. I'm still very high on the Chiefs going into this season, but I do think the Denver Broncos are deserving of the number 5 spot. I actually really think that they probably should have been in the Super Bowl last year, but with that quarterback injury, they weren't able to get it done. That bizarre snow game, which they took it out. So I will give the Denver Broncos the nod, even though right now, if you go to CoolBet and look at the division odds for the AFC West, they're third. It's Kansas City at plus 175 right there. Same number for the Chargers. And then Denver at plus 215, Raiders 20-1. But I do think the Broncos deserve to, at least at this point, enjoy their time on the power poll. I'm hoping I don't have to mention on that power poll at any point after week 1 when they have to go to Arrowhead and take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are the power polls today for Chud's Power Sports up in Gimli, chudspowersports.com, corner of Highway 8 and 231. I have a feeling that when we do the week 2 power polls, Connor, after week 1, we're going to see, well, put it this way, one of your number 1 or number 5 teams, I think, is going to be out because they're playing head-to-head in
it'll probably be the Niners. But hey, the Niners are 6th in Super Bowl winning odds over at CoolBet right now, Huss. Now, they're also 6th to win the NFC, which kind of makes no sense. Like, they're 6th in Super Bowl winning odds at plus 1,600. But then you go over to the NFC, and teams like the Eagles, Packers, and Lions have a higher or have lower odds to represent them in the NFC. So I don't know how that really makes any sense from an odds perspective, but I do think the Niners are right in there with the Lions and the Eagles. I was pretty low on the Packers this morning when doing winners, but like those next teams, that tier 2 of the NFC, I do think the Niners are firmly there. And the Broncos, kind of same thing in the AFC, right? You have the best teams, the Bills, the Patriots, and the Broncos maybe in that tier, maybe headlining the next tier. We'll have to wait and see with week 1.
Hey, you know what? Just before we get to the CoolBet lines for tonight, we should raise one up because mission accomplished. Another series win. The Blue Jays get the win in Tampa against the Rays, Connor. What a great start to the week of a series that, you know, a couple more hits yesterday and they maybe sweep. This is exactly what this team needed going into the Bronx tomorrow.
I mean, what if Jesus Sanchez catches that easy fly ball with the bases loaded yesterday, right? Like, man, you take a series win at the Trop any way it comes if you're a Toronto Blue Jays fan, because everyone we've had on the show this week, you and I have said it, the Trop has been a nightmare for the Jays the past number of years. So for the Jays to go in with no Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I know he's not having a great year, but still he's a player that's in the middle of their lineup and is counted on for power. Without him, they've take 2 of 3, and now they go to the Bronx and take on the Yankees in what should be another great series as well. And shout out Shane Bieber today going 7 innings, and then Rogers and Varland carry it through from there. And that's the ceiling case for this Blue Jays team, Huss, is that the bats haven't been great. They've been cold really all year long. They're starting to come around a little bit now. Shout out Alejandro Kirk, who seems to be red hot at the plate. But the Jays getting in as a wildcard team and making noise is because they can roll out Cease, Soriano, Bieber, Yasavage if healthy as their starting pitchers. And then if you're losing against the Blue Jays and it's the 8th inning, you might as well just turn the game off because Rogers and Varland, you're not getting a run. You're just not. So the Jays have that pitching advantage, and if their bats can get going, like the ceiling is there for sure.
Got it done right now. Quieter night tonight on the CoolBet lines. We'll get to in a minute, but we do have a little bit of breaking news. I was waiting for this to become official before talking about it on the show to make sure it was happening, but couple key dates for all of you to circle. First of all, I know there's been lots of talk about the alumni game for the Heritage Classic, August 27th. tickets for the alumni game will be going on sale. You can guarantee your seats through a package, certainly season tickets, and I would imagine the additional ones, ones what weren't taken by season ticket holders. Don't quote me on this, but I would assume that if you've got a half season or a quarter season, you'll probably have the opportunity for that game. Although that game actually will be in some of the half season packs because it is part of the season ticket pack.
Yeah.
But anyways, they'll have more details on it. But the date is August 27th for the alumni game. Big Buff and the boys coming back, getting the band back together. And that game's happening on Saturday, October 24th at 6:30 p.m. Which, Connor, this is interesting. And this I've been waiting to kind of talk about, knowing it was likely happening. FanFest is moving this year. FanFest is not happening on the first Saturday of training camp as it normally does out at the Iceplex. The Jets are playing on the road that night. It's a very, very compacted preseason with only the 4 games. So they're actually moving FanFest to, I believe, the convention center on the day of the alumni game. Now, what that is going to allow them to do is have members of the alumni taking part in FanFest. So
Nice.
I'm pretty sure the plan is that there will be, a 90-minute period for a bunch of the alumni. Maybe they'll split them up. But if you want to get one more crack at a photo or a pic with some of the former Winnipeg Jets, they will be there. And, of course, that'll be an off day for the team. I'm sure they'll practice, come over, do some things, and then get ready for the big day tomorrow at the big stadium on the south side of Winnipeg when the Jets and the Habs go at it at Princess Auto Stadium.
Yeah, this is exciting, Huss. And I know some people earlier in the week in our chat rooms were asking about single game tickets for the alumni game. So good to have an answer on that. August 27th, a week today. And FanFest, look, I have a soft spot for the Hockey for All Center fan fests. Us
It's awesome.
Sitting there doing our show and our feet are freezing because of the ice underneath our set there. But this is going to be awesome. I mean, that weekend is already, people are so pumped for it. The alumni game, Dustin Byfuglien coming back, the actual Heritage Classic with the Jets and the Habs. The Habs, one of the most exciting young teams in hockey, and the Jets hosting again at Princess Auto Stadium. This is only going to add to it. And again, being down at the convention center, like you say, Huss, it's all there for people to go spend the day at FanFest and then just maybe grab a bite to eat and walk to the alumni game, which starts at 6:36 on the Saturday down at Canada Life Center. So that'll be an awesome day for Jets fans, and everything goes on sale August 27th for those tickets.
Yeah, and we'll see what's available left for them, because I'm just looking. I have season tickets. As a season ticket member, you'll get priority access starting the 25th at 10 a.m. to purchase additional seats for that game. You can only get 4 per account, which is nice if you're sharing season tickets. And like I've been sharing with the same guys since 2011. Sure, everyone will want to go, so we'll try and do that. So still time, I'm sure, to get a package, or if you want to go in with some friends, call your rep or be in touch with the Winnipeg Jets on how you can get in. But next Tuesday, 10 a.m. is going to be the additionals for package holders, and any remaining stock that is not sold will be on sale on Thursday, August 27th. And of course, FanFest. Not at the, what I'm going to really miss about FanFest is the sale. I seem to blow $300 or $400 every year.
Well, they better still have that at the convention center.
There's got to be something like that. Yeah,
I did damage last year as well. I'll just say that.
They will. Real quick, we got CFL. Don't forget to get your picks in the pick 'em if you haven't already. I almost forgot. I just got mine in. We have a game tonight. It's 13 points as the spread. Montreal over Ottawa. I think I like Montreal still. It's very hard to have much faith in the Red Blacks against anyone, never mind the number 1 team in the league. Bombers 5.5-point underdogs tomorrow in Edmonton. Argos 4.5-point favorites at home against the Ticats on Saturday. And the BC number is now 2 and minus 135 on the money line. I will tell you, if you go to the exclusives under Winnipeg Sports Talk, you will see our CFL 110 parlay. This is a great number. We've got the Alouettes minus 12.5, Hamilton plus 4.5, and BC money line. Well, BC money line was close to even money when we did this. They're now minus 135. So this is a heck of a number on this parlay if you want to get in on it. 7-1. Alouettes minus 12.5. Ticats plus 4.5. BC money line. Get on it right now. I will direct you to the futures for the NFL section.
Yes.
Spend a little bit of time checking those out, or get them up and then go and watch our futures special with all of our favorite picks. We'll have plenty of time for that. And there is Super Boost, by the way, if speaking of Canadian golf, Stephen Ames to win the Rogers Charity Classic Senior event, 65-1. Speaking of which, we should, what is it called? The CMKC Women's Open.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got here right now? Let's see here. Leaderboard, 8 under par. M. Yamashita, 2 Japanese golfers in the lead out in Edmonton at Royal Mayfair, -8 and -7. We've got Canadian Anna Huang tied for 3rd, 5 under, and another Canadian, Michelle Zing. She is tied for 3rd right now. So nicely done. Now, you know who we're looking for. Where is the queen of Canadian golf? Brooke Henderson. Brooke's just getting out there on the course right now. She's even. She's played 3 holes. So she's got the afternoon tee time today. So we'll pay attention to that. And out at the BMW, it's playoff time in the PGA Tour. Gary Woodland and Wyndham Clark both went 6 under today. 5 unders, Rio Hisatuni and JJ Spawn. 4 unders, Ludwig Oberg and Fitzpatrick. Not Matt, but his brother Alex. 3s on the card for Justin Thomas, Akshay Bhatia, Pat Cantlay, Rory McIlroy, Chris Gotterup, and Matthew Fitzpatrick. Now, just wondering where Mr. Scheffler is right now. Where is Scott? What? Scotty Scheffler is in last. He's 3 over par. Scotty started his first round with a bogey on 3, bogey on 4, bogey on 5, and a bogey on 7. He just birdied 8. He's playing the 9th hole. Should almost screen cap this, because I'm not sure if Scotty Scheffler has ever been at the bottom of any event at any time ever on the PGA Tour. This is kind of crazy. And Hideki at 2 over 2. He had been so good lately.
Yeah, I've never seen Scotty Scheffler last in anything for relating to golf. T49, yeah, for a 50-player field. That's something else for Scotty Scheffler. And I know you were big on Matsuyama, betting earlier in the week.
He's been great so far. Like, he's just been on a tear this month. Now, again, not a huge gap between the top and the bottom. Lots of golf left to play, but not really where we were thinking we would find our guys. WNBA tonight, baseball tonight. Dusty and I, if you're looking for a little 3-gamer, there's only 3 night games tonight in the majors. Taking the Astros over the Angels. They're minus 192. Yankees Orioles is basically a pick 'em. We will take the Yankees, and we'll take the Washington Nationals on the road. They're the underdog at plus 147. Put those together, you're at plus 611. So Astros, Yankees, Nats tonight. That is going to be the play. And I will be taking the Montreal Alouettes minus the 13 and getting on the CFL 110 parlay where they are 12.5 under par. Wow, Connor, what a day for the two of us. We've been grinding, basically just cranking it out since 10 a.m. It's been a fun one.
It has, yeah. Love talking NFL, and then we come on the show, got some good Elias Salamonson news, Bomber game tomorrow, Jays take the 2 of 3 at the Trop. Not bad for a Thursday in the middle of August.
No, don't go. Hey, listen, great job today. Lots of fun having you officially join the club and be making the picks. We'll be doing that all year long with Pat and Jake. And again, check it out on YouTube. It's a fun watch. We had a blast doing it today. And tomorrow, it's Friday. Oh, yeah. And I'm not sure if you saw what had been requested in the WhatsApp chat for the Media League.
Floated,
if you will. So we will. No, we have executed a marble race before.
Yes, I have done one. So we should be a go for tomorrow, and then for the Media League, because I know people care more about getting their hoodies. We should be good to do that too. So we can do
exactly.
Yeah, we can do 2 marble races tomorrow.
Tomorrow on the show, Ed's going to join us from Edmonton ahead of the game. We'll also have Jeff Hamilton jump on the program. Hacksaw will also be with us, hoping to maybe get Braxton Kuntz to jump on with us, depending on when his tea time is and how that all works out. But we'll definitely have Talk Jays as well ahead of the Yankees game tomorrow. Still waiting to see who John Schneider will start. Will we get Cease versus Schlittler right out of the gate? Or do they save Cease for Saturday or Sunday of this series? But we're live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central Time. And during the NFL season, Friday mornings will also be when we do all of our picks for the WST winners with the Cool Bet boys. By the way, few details on it, but the NFL Pick'em, much like the CFL Pick'em that we do, is going to be not just for Canada, but for all the countries that Cool Bet operates in. And again, it's highly unlikely, but if you pick the 6 games correctly with the scores, there's a $1.5 million jackpot, and it's completely free to enter. So they're going to have some great prizes, weekly prizes, and for the event. But on top of it all, the perfect game or the perfect week will be worth 1.5 mil. Unbelievable. Get on over to CoolBet, WST promo code if you haven't played there before, and make sure to get your picks in for the CFL tonight. Thanks to the guys, Ken, Mike, Thomas Tipple, and of course, great work with Connor Hrabchak. Fun day today. Lots waiting for you at the YouTube channel after today's show with the NFL futures. And tomorrow, we're back at it at 1 to set up the Elks and Bombers and get you ready for the weekend. And the latest, of course, from the Manitoba Open. That is going to do it for us, ladies and gents. Thanks so much. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We will see you tomorrow on WST. Have a great night.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.